Good morning, everybody. This is the Personal Playlist Podcast, fondly referred to as the P3 on Voice Ed Radio. I'm Noah Daniel.
Music is a world within itself, with a language we all understand.
I am so excited to have Tina Zita here on the Personal Playlist Podcast. Tina is a modern learning resource teacher with the Peel District School Board. She's an educational thought leader, a TEDx speaker, an AQ course designer and facilitator for the Ontario Institute for Studies in Education at the University of Toronto. According to the March issue of Professionally Speaking, Tina contributed to the Teacher Leadership AQ guideline design, as well as the creation of a new resource to support AQ course providers. Welcome to the show, Tina.
Thanks for having me.
I'm really happy that you're here. You must have the most modest approach to bios because I had to do research on you because your bio was like, I am a teacher and my halfway mark, which was really cool. The part that I love that I really want to begin exploring, though, is you wrote me that, each role leads to empowering our modern learners to be compassionate global citizens. And I think that's really important. As a modern learning leader, what does that say to you?
I think for me, at its simplest form, modern learning is just great learning. Like when we think of all of the best experiences we had growing up, I think those teachers that really stand to our mind were educators that empowered us to see our strengths and see our passions and to inspire us to continue on that lifelong journey. And for me, I just hope that as a leader, small L leadership, as a leader, I hope that I model that for others. And if there's anything that I can do to help others come on board, it is to be in that active learning stance and to learn alongside them. Because really that's that shift that we're wanting in education, and that shift that really creates a learning community, if that makes sense.
Of course it makes sense. And that actually got me thinking about your role on the planning committee for the Did You Sit Summit that I got to go to. Mm-hmm. And although I had just met you briefly at Stephen Hurley's house, it was so nice to see you doing this. And little by little, I learned more and more about you. But that event was really about building a community and not having people that you brought in to be experts, but people that created a grassroots feeling that were sharing ideas, not imparting ideas, and helping to build a shared understanding of what it really means to be educators in global citizens. And developing digital citizenship is about modeling it, and it's about embracing it, and it's about making sure that your learners are engaging in different platforms, back to what you were saying, that really empowers them to find their passions and to find their strengths in a global world.
Yeah, and I think with we had a great team with the DigSit Summit, just planning the event and trying to take that active learning stance. And I think Jen and some of the committee had done so much great work with the Ontario Ed Chat and bringing that student voice in and really being that co-learner in that respect.
Yeah, you mean the Ontario Students Chat piece. That was great.
Yeah. And I know early on we started looking at what we wanted the framework to be. So we took inspiration from ISTE's 3 roles of the digital citizen, of the digital activist, the digital communicator, and the digital self, so that we could really look at it from a more holistic lens, and that it's not just about passwords and cyberbullying, but it's about kids seeing this platform as a platform that they can use to advocate for change. So it was super exciting.
I was so happy to be there, and I'm really excited that it's going to continue evolving. So that was really cool. And then as I was doing this research on you, because you gave me this very general bio, I discovered your TEDx talk called What is Innovation? And although it was in April 2016, I think it's so relevant. And one of the things that really got me thinking was you were talking about how you perceived innovation as those grand moments, and then you couldn't see yourself in innovation and therefore couldn't be an innovator. But I think you kind of evolved your conversation to talk really more about that journey than the end product, and pursuing passions and curiosities and really sticking with the topic. How do you feel looking back on your TED Talk?
Well, the TED Talk was really something I got roped into. One of those things, one of those things where somebody asks you to do something, and at the time it sounds amazing, so you say sure. And if I'm completely honest, I thought work wouldn't release me for the day, so I thought I was off the hook. But they let me go for the afternoon. So I was like, shucks. And I had to follow a biomedical engineer who talked about finding this tool that was going to sense cancer and cut it out. So even 2 minutes before the talk, I was freaking out, wondering if what I had to say was worthwhile. But it's interesting with those TED Talks because it's so dark, you can't really see the audience except for a few faces in front of you. And after those few moments, I could see that they could kind of see themselves in the conversation I was having. And I guess when I looked back to it, the 100-Day Project for me has just been my own personal journey and really seeing how much those small moments and those habits of mind or those that habit of innovation in those small moments, I guess you could say, really changes your perspective and changes your attitude towards innovation. It makes you sit in that place of uncomfort because it's really easy to get stuck in our comfort zone, but actively creating certainly pushes you to the edge of that comfort zone and sharing it in a public forum.
Yeah, it's funny. Derek Rodenizer on his Ignite was talking about reflecting publicly, and I'm engaging in these conversations since yesterday about what that looks like. And I think it makes me think back to your talk when you were talking about challenging what learning looks like. And even this coming week, the show will air after this, but this coming week, we're talking about learning and teaching on the On Ed Mentor show and how sometimes there's different perceptions on what that really looks like. So I think that this show kind of talks about what learning looks like because when I did it in my classroom and, you have students have these 3 choices of a nostalgic, identity, and pick-me-up song, you think, well, that's pretty simple and straightforward, but it challenges people to go on a personal journey, to go on a self-reflection, and sometimes, and actually even often, a self-discovery. So tell me a little bit about preparing for the show.
I was a little stuck. I think it's interesting because I think even just listening to some of the other episodes, we all choose songs for different reasons. And for me, the nostalgic one was a no-brainer. And I'll save the story for later why it was so obvious to me. I think the other ones I was realizing, for me, I guess songs are attached to moments. So I found the identity piece really a bit of a struggle. Just because I don't know if I've ever attached a song to my identity. So when I was going through my favorite songs playlist, I have this ongoing playlist that I just update with whatever I kind of want for the car ride at that moment in time or in that part of my life. And going through, I was like, none of them capture me, even though I love the songs. So it was interesting to just have that moment to reflect and to try to really think what song captures my essence or captures what I want to say. And I realized how much I love words because I kept looking up the lyrics, even though you sing along to the songs, but you keep going back to the lyrics, if that makes sense.
Well, it depends on the person. I think lots of people, and there's certainly lots of songs that you like misrepresent the lyrics and sing like, like Sister Christian, that whole song I've messed up most of my life. And sometimes when I look at the lyrics, they make me sad because I like the made up version in my head. So I think it is reflective of your personality that you're drawn to lyrics and you're drawn to words. And even though you haven't blogged for a while, I know that you love to write. So I hope that you weren't waiting too long for your nostalgic story because I want to begin with your nostalgic song. So tell us a little bit about why you chose that song.
So this feels like one of those confession moments.
Okay.
So I actually grew up in Europe. My parents left Canada when I was 6, and we came back to Canada when I was 16. And they just dragged us around to different countries and dropped us at the local schools. So Take That was the boy band, the European boy band of the time. I guess it was after New Kids on the Block and all that jazz. So for me, hearing the song just makes me think of grade 9 in Italy. It was my last year before we came back to Canada. And me and my friends, it was all we talked about. We had the t-shirts, we had the stickers. So for me, coming to Canada, I went from grade 9 in Italy to grade 12 in Canada. They just put me up the 2 grades. So it was a big shift. I went from 20 minutes north of Milan to the middle of a farmer's field in Flamborough. With kids that all had grown up together since they were in kindergarten.
I was going to say, I'm from Burlington, and we would go to Flamborough once in a while, and it was a small town. Wow.
Yeah, so school was in Dundas, so I went to school in Dundas. So for me, when Take That made it to the Canadian radio that year in grade 12, it just was like this bridge moment for me where music had kind of been that connector that just made me feel safe. So it seems really cheesy that a boy band with probably the cheesiest music video that's ever been made would be that moment of safety. But it just speaks, like when I hear it, I just picture Italy and I picture that childhood and all of the great moments and that transition over.
I think there are parallels in the video, though. Like, it's shot in black and white, and it's the band walking and dancing in the rain, but like in the shelter. So you're kind of sheltered by the music, and you're like rained on sometimes. Life of chat. I mean, I think that we could play with that, but let's play the song from Take That, Back for Good.
I feel so bad.
I guess now it's time for me to give up. I feel it's time. Got a picture of you beside me. Got your lipstick mark still on your coffee cup. Oh yeah. Got a fist of pure emotion. Got a head of shattered dreams. Gotta leave it all behind now. Whatever I said, whatever I didn't mean it. I just want you back for good. Want you back for good. Whenever I'm wrong, just tell me the song and I'll sing it. You'll be right and understood. Want you back, I want you back for good. Unaware, but underlined, I figured out the story. No, it wasn't good.
Were you singing along?
In my head. It was sad. I only sing in the car and when people can't hear me.
I get it. I love to sing.
But yes, every single word. It was really I think everybody has that one song that's that guilty pleasure that makes you go back in time.
I have many, many songs that are guilty pleasures, and watching my daughters sing some of that music now that the 80s are cool again, it's really weird. And my eldest sported my GNR shirt, and I was like, I'm not so sure, because in our family we have a rule that you have to know 3 songs by a band to wear their shirt. And I'm like looking at her and I'm like, I think that the rules have to change just a little bit. Like, it was fine with Queen and Journey, but at GNR, I think that it's just
pushing the limits. Pushing
the limit. But this next song, Your Identity Song, the words are profound. And just as an educator, I could get so much in it. So when you discovered that this was the song that you decided to be your identity song, what is it about the lyrics that spoke to you the most?
I think I went, like Andra Day's stuff is just so amazing. Her voice is off the charts. And I think she always makes you feel something. So when I was looking and trying to remember some of the songs that I really identified with, I went to 2 of her songs. She has Rise Up, which if it's just chills kind of moment, right? But I remembered this song, and I love Common's work as well. And when I was looking at the lyrics, I loved the line, where they talk about the fact that they're not just talking the talk, they're walking the walk.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then as you go through the lyrics, especially when Common's part comes up and he talks about really advocating for others, I thought of that whole philosophy of education and that what would you want others to say of you later on? And I guess those are the two things that I would hope would be my legacy, or would be the piece that's left behind, or that I lived what I was advocating for and that I advocated for others. I think it's something to aspire to, though, as well. Like when you hear the lyrics, I don't know if I can say I'm doing it all the time. But that's why I love their music, because it's hard to listen to her, and Common as well, and not feel like you need to do something. Like every song of hers that I love seems to have that go-getter kind of moment at the end of the song.
Yeah, I know what you're saying. And I appreciate that you say you're aspiring. And I think that the challenge sometimes, especially as a teacher, is you can live your everyday like that. And then there's that one day when you don't, and that becomes your legacy, sadly. And you hope to be consistently yourself, and you hope to kind of reflect those lyrics of always standing up for you and always knowing that what you do matters. I mean, it comes back to digital citizenship, right? We have to walk that walk, and we have to live that life as digital citizens. And we can't model it if we haven't engaged, and we can't model it if we haven't been our best selves online or even interpersonally. So I think that I've always said that teachers have to be better humans. And if we're not, then what's the point? Because we have to look in the mirror at the end of the day, just like the lyrics say, and be proud of who's looking back at you, because we have students every day looking at us. And if we don't define that life that we're living and define it by the things that we do, not just the things that we say, then we're falling short of our obligations.
And it comes, the song is the theme song for Marshall, a movie that came out a few years ago.
Which, by the way, I just saw by accident yesterday. So it's crazy because I knew that Chadwick Boseman was in a film, but I seen him with Josh Gad and seeing the whole story unfold. And it was really a very interesting film, I have to tell you.
There's so many layers and pieces. And I think there's authenticity in that doubt. I think so many times in movies, they just kind of wash over that piece about standing up not costing anything, or standing up. People just jump to the ready and we're right there to help out, where I think the movie does a really great job about talking about the struggle that comes with doing what's right and being set in your convictions, I guess, or being clear in your convictions, and the price that comes with that it's not always as it's not always a silver lining moment.
Right. I mean, sometimes when we look back on history, we're like, wow, he's so amazing. And we forget all the hard work that every day looked like for him.
It's like full circle back to the, that was the cool part about the Einstein story and the innovation TED Talk, was nobody tells you the 10 years in between those two moments of brilliance that we keep talking about.
Right. Right, exactly. And that's the part we need to be talking about in schools, is that sweat and that resilience and that ability to learn from mistakes and keep iterating. So let's share your identity song and think about the fantastic lyrics and what it can mean in the classroom for all of us.
You can have all the money in your hands, all the possessions anyone can ever have, but it's all worthless treasure. True worth is only measured not by what you got, but what you got in your heart. You can have everything, but what does it mean? It all means nothing if you don't stand up for something. You can't just talk the talk, you got to walk that walk. Yes, you do. It all means nothing back at you. Define the life you're living, not by what you take, but what you're giving. And if you bet on love, there's no way you'll ever lose. Take a stand, make a stand for what's right. It's always worth the fight. It all means nothing, and if you don't stand up for something, you can't just talk the talk. You got to walk that walk. Yes, you do. It all means nothing, and if you don't stand up for something.
Your next song introduced me to an artist I had never heard of, and I'm just really glad that you did that. Sometimes when you're trying to be your best self, when you're working on that, you need a little motivation or a song to sing in the car, Tina. So tell me a little bit about choosing this song.
So Jane as an artist was somebody I actually stumbled across. My brother had been talking about her. He's a musician himself, which is sad that I didn't put him in this playlist. But we had been chatting about her, and she actually was the soundtrack for one of the Levi's commercials last year. And I had just looked her up on a whim, and I just fell in love with all of her music. It just has such a positive attitude, upbeat. And then when I dove into her background and when I checked out her process for making music, it just made me love her more. So she grew up overseas in a variety of different cultures and picked up a variety of different rhythms and elements to her music. But she also very much has that maker mindset and creates all of her own music through loops and is always innovating. So she has so many great songs. And they're my go-to when we're doing music activities with adults or kids. But this one, Heads Up, just has such a positive, upbeat message that you can't sit still.
And not only that, I'm so psyched that the blog post will have the video, because the video really does such a great job of celebrating each of the lyrics in this song that is now on my Pick Me Up playlist. So let's play Heads Up by Jane.
Heads up for the light where we'll never die. Under the moonlight we'll start to on fight. Heads up for this time where fear's not a leader, where open mind is stronger, life is for lovers. Heads up for the light where we'll never die. Under the moonlight we'll start to on fight. Heads up for this time where fear's not a leader, where open mind is stronger, life is for lovers. Heads up all the way, cause it's too late to be afraid. There's no time to rest, I wanna go and see what's next. I see colors all around, I try to take them one by one. I try to put them on my mind so I won't forget how they are. Time for me to see how much beauty this can be. If only I wasn't so scared of how people can be. It's time for me to try to keep all of my dreams awake, away from the fear, from the hate we've made. Heads up for the light where we'll never die. Under the moonlight we'll start to on fight. Heads up for this time where fear's not a leader, where open mind is stronger, life is for lovers. Heads up for the light where we'll never die. Under the moonlight we'll start to on fight. Heads up for this time where fear's not a leader, where open mind is stronger, life is for lovers. Heads up on the road, all the stars begin to glow, carrying away all the shadows, carrying us, carrying you. I wanna dance on my way home, I wanna see a brand new town. No more shame, no more pain, it's always free to give a chance. Time for me to take all the wealth we cannot stole. It's our differences that make the richest of our soul. It's time to walk around and try to find a sound, way up near the cloud and way down in the ground. Heads up for the
Make sure that all of our dreams and all of our students' dreams stay awake.
Yeah.
I'm really glad that you are on this show. How are you feeling about your 3 songs?
Good. I still The identity one still has me, but I love the song. So that should count for something, right?
It definitely counts. But if you have an epiphany one day and you need a little re-record, I'm open to reflection and a revisit because it's your story and it has to be your story.
Okay.
I've always said to my guests that this is your show. So this week, in this episode, it's yours. So if you need to own it in a different way, please tell me. It's important to me that this celebrates you. No,
it's I love all three of those songs. So it's all good.
Okay. Well, Tina, how can people find you?
They can find me on Twitter at Tina_Zita or on Instagram at Miss Zita.
At Miss Zita?
At Miss Zita, yeah.
Okay, I'm going to look for you. Follow you on Instagram. I'm already following you on Twitter. Is there anything you want to add before I play you out?
Thanks for having me. This was awesome. Great time to reflect and do something I haven't done before. So thanks.
Yay. Well, it's my pleasure. I hope you have a fantastic day.
You too.
Thank you for joining us on the P3, the Personal Playlist Podcast. I'm Noah Daniel. This is Voice Ed Radio, and I hope you have a fantastic day.